You're watching 13 News, Kansas News Leader.
Good evening. This is 13 News at 6 on a momentous evening. I'm Ralph Hipp.
And I'm Melissa Bruner. This is the big day for us. Rest assured, the full headlines are on WIBW.com, but we have a special program tonight at 6 because WIBW-TV will end its analog signal and switch solely to digital broadcasting.
The switch is going to happen about 20 minutes from now. And before we get to this historic change, we want to give you a look back at our history tonight, talk about how the technical work has been going into this switch, and give you somebody to call if you have any trouble tonight. Now, one of the things you'll have to do once we make the switch to digital during this newscast, if you do not have cable or a satellite service, is to rescan your television and converter box.
Our research has shown that more than 90% of you do have one of those pay services, so you're set. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
But if any of your televisions use that off-air antenna, then the switch means our signal will move from channel 44 to channel 13, and you need to rescan your converter box or digital TV receiver so your system recognizes the new WIBW location. 13's Rachel Davis shows us just how easy that is.
Ralph and Melissa, all of this talk about digital television and rescanning can be very confusing. Believe me, I'm no techie. That's why I sat down with our director of operations and he helped me get the picture so I'm not left in the fuzz. Right now, if you receive an analog signal, meaning you don't have a cable provider and you use an off-air antenna, in just a few short minutes when we stop broadcasting that analog signal, your TV will go black. That's why you need one of these things. It's a converter box, and here to tell us a little bit about it is Mike Turner, our Director of Operations here at WIBW-TV. Mike, a lot of people find this box very intimidating.
They shouldn't be scared of it at all. Basically, what everybody's probably done at this point is scanned all the channels in to make sure they have the digital channels. Anytime on these converter boxes that you see a .1 or a .2, for us obviously it's 13.1 and 13.2. Those are your digital channels. Some of these boxes have an analog pass-through where you're seeing 13. And then you also see 13.1, 13.2. That 13 on these digital boxes will be going away. I think the important thing for all of our viewers to know is that they have to do a rescan. Very easy to do. All you have to do is locate the menu button on your remote control for your digital box. You touch the menu button and you'll find some kind of menu that'll come up with either an auto tune function or add channels or something to that effect. Just simply go over to the auto tune function and just go ahead and set it up and let it process all the channels. Many of you have already done this, obviously, when you first set up the boxes. This is just a way of acquiring the new position that WIBW's stronger VHF antenna will be located in.
And it takes just a few minutes. This doesn't take very long at all.
Some converter boxes take longer than others. I mean, it just depends on the type that you have, but usually the whole process shouldn't take more than 2 to 3 minutes.
And if you're like me, if you want to get a better signal, you want to move around your antenna a little bit to try to get that better signal. But now with digital television, you can't just move that antenna. There's more to the process.
Absolutely. The situation is you used to be able to actually tune to the channel and move the rabbit ears. Can't do that with the digital. You have to keep moving the antenna and then rescan each time you move the antenna for a better signal.
If you still have questions, don't worry. You can call the number on the bottom of your screen, or you can log on to WIBWrescan.com. There's instructional videos which will walk you through the rescanning process. Back to you, Ralph and Melissa.
Thank you very much. Of course, this journey begins tonight. We'll always be here to help you, and we're especially here to help you tonight. This digital TV conversion doesn't just magically happen.
Our engineers have done literally years of prep work here, and tonight they have to throw the switch. 13's Amanda Lanham is at our transmitter site near Maple Hill with our chief engineer, Carrie Lanham, and there it is, the transmitter, the tower, folks. Carrie and Amanda, not related, but they are together getting ready tonight. Amanda?
Ralph and Melissa, right now you're staring at our 1,255-foot tall tower. This is what puts out the signal for WIBW television to viewers all across northeast Kansas, and it's putting out an analog and a digital signal, and right now we're about 20 minutes away from cutting that analog signal. Now I am joined by Chief Engineer Carrie Lanham, and he's going to get a little bit of help from Engineer Elmer Gunderson in this room. This is where the analog signal comes from. And Carrie, the switch, it's not really just about flipping a switch. There's a lot more to it than that.
There certainly is. We have the analog transmitter here. Let's run into this switch here. And you can see it's got the green light. This is the old analog transmitter. It comes into this coaxial switch and goes out the antenna. And what we have to do is shut down the analog transmitter. Then we have to come over here, transfer to the new digital transmitter, put it in the antenna. Then he gives me the thumbs up. I'll be over at the new digital transmitter and I'll fire it up.
All right, so let's walk around here and get a look at this analog transmitter that's about to be shut down here pretty soon. Now, we take a quick glance at what it looks like from the front, all kinds of knobs and things. This is not going to be in use anymore after tonight, and so we'll walk down here. This is where the digital transmitter is, and how long is this switch going to take total when it's all said and done?
It'll take about 2 to 5 minutes for me to get everything and Elmer to get everything done that we need to do.
Okay, so tell us about this room. This is the actual digital transmitter.
Right, this is the actual digital transmitter. It's new, it's a nice little box. We have a switch here which has to be done manually. I have to physically pull this, turn it over to run it into the tubing that goes to the antenna. Then I'll move around in front of the transmitter, and when Elmer gives me a thumbs up that we're good to go in the antenna, I'll fire up the new digital transmitter.
Okay, and if you have analog, tell us what you're going to...
If you have an analog picture, you'll get snow until the new picture comes in and you rescan your box. And the transmitter will start off at a little bit lower level when we do the switch over, then we'll have to run it up to full power.
Okay, so this switch, this is what's going to happen behind the scenes here soon when we get to our countdown. And when it happens, you will need to rescan, as Rochelle just told you how to, unless you have cable, Dish Network, or DirecTV. Ralph, Melissa?
That's right. Only antennas need to rescan. Amanda, thank you so much. Weather, as you know, has played a huge role in our station's history. It continues to be a major reason Northeast Kansas watches WIBW-TV.
Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Goodwin tonight recaps some of the major meteorological stories from our 55 years on the air.
Ralph, Melissa, the history of WIBW-TV has so many amazing moments in weather. Of course, no look back would be complete without beginning with the most famous words in WIBW history.
If you live in the north part or on the northern edge, for God's sake, take cover. The 8th of June, 1966.
If there was any doubt that WIBW viewers lived with some of the most dangerous weather in the world, that doubt was now gone forever. An F5 tornado became the first $100 million storm. Today, we still revisit its history every June 8th. But WIBW has covered many storms over the years. In 1974, an F4 tornado struck Emporia. 200 people were injured. This storm caused more than $25 million in damages and took the lives of 6 people. Then in 1978,
before the sun went down, what looked like a barge had been pulled to within 100 yards of the shoreline. The barge-like affair was, in fact, the flat bottom of the Whippoorwill. 16 of the 58 passengers who embarked for a relaxing evening on Pomona Lake never made it to shore. A tornado struck and overturned the 2-story paddle wheeler, changing lives forever. On November 15th of 1988, a rare fall tornado appeared on radar. WIBW was there for the storm and the cleanup.
We received at 2:09 this afternoon a tornado warning for Shawnee County here in Topeka. A tornado was reported on the ground at 29th and Wanamaker.
Now this is a live look at the Topeka West parking lot. As we told you,
the Great Flood of 1993 affected northeast Kansas. Aging levees and high water cost Kansas $500 million. The Greensburg tornado didn't hit northeast Kansas, but in some ways it seemed to hit the entire nation. They are still rebuilding to this day. And the storm that struck Greensburg did create major flooding for Topeka within 48 hours. 10 inches of rain fell overnight, pushing Shunga Creek into living rooms. Lake Sherwood and many other tranquil bodies of water became raging forces of nature. In December of 2007, we dealt with a major ice storm. Corning had 2 inches of ice. Holton had almost 2 inches of ice. It took months to clean up the damage from a major storm. Then in 2008,
these dark reds right next to these dark greens, very close to Chapman, report of a tornado on the ground.
The same storm continued on toward the Little Apple. Both cities sustained major damage. One life was lost in Chapman, and even though an EF4 tornado crossed the Kansas State University campus, not one person was killed in Manhattan.
That piece could have been an hour and a half long easily. Tell you what, dangerous weather is a big part of our history and will be a part of our future as well. Our signal is changing from analog to digital, but there will be no change in our commitment to covering dangerous weather in Kansas. And by the way, March begins in just 12 days. Ralph, Melissa?
Thank you, Jeremy. Well, mark it down February 16th, a little bit of history being made tonight. Of course, all the way around, our history has been your history.
We're going to share a few of your memories and let you know where to call if you need help tonight when our special 13 News at 6 Countdown to Digital returns.
What am I into? Spending time with my family, staying organized, saving time and money. That's why I'm into the Cox Bundle.
Get the Cox Bundle with digital cable, high-speed internet, and digital telephone as low as $99 a month for 2 months. Add stars for just $5 a month for 2 months. Call 866-38-GO-COX to order.
My husband's into the movie 21, new on Stars. But tonight he's coaching a soccer game. No problem. He can watch his movie afterwards with Stars on Demand. Free with our Stars subscription on Cox Digital Cable.
Cox is also the only local provider with free HD programming.
With Cox high-speed internet, I can email my son's soccer game to Grandma in just seconds.
Cox gives you blazing fast downloads faster than AT&T's DSL.
And with Cox Digital Telephone, we can stay in touch without racking up our phone bill.
You can also get packages like unlimited nationwide long distance.
The Cox Bundle gives me more out of what I'm into.
Try the Cox Bundle as low as $99 a month for 2 months. Plus add stars for just $5 a month for 2 months. Call 866-38-GO-COX to order.
Qdoba for providing food during our digital conversion.
With any big change, it never fails that a few glitches might come up for some of you, and that's why we have a group of people right here in the studio to help you out. If you have problems with your antenna, or you don't think your box or your tuner has been rescanned correctly, I want to just let you know our operators are ready. The number is 866-817-1313, 866-817-1313. Thanks to all of our operators tonight, all, let's see, 3, 6, 9, all dozen of you here, so keep that number handy, 866-817-1313. As Melissa, we get prepared to make the switch.
And for the last few weeks, we have asked you to send us memories of your life with WIBW-TV. What sticks in your mind about the TV station? Here is the stack that we received. We also had Rory send us his Jungle John Club ticket. We caught up with a few of you to share some more. Sisters Paula Gerlach and Pam Lauer's WIBW memories go back even before our debut.
I mainly remember them raising the tower. That was just amazing because it was just huge. We did climb on it, but we could only go up so far, and then it was hurry up and get down before you get hurt.
They were there because their father, Paul Roscoe, had a special role in our debut November 15th, 1953.
He was going to be the very first voice on the air when they went on the air, and he wanted it to be perfect.
This is Channel 13, WIBW-TV, Capra Publications, Topeka, Kansas.
And then my dad practicing, because it wasn't WIBW, it was WIBW. And he would stand in front of the mirror and say that over and over, so he had it just right. Our whole family was in the studio. Very exciting, lots of bustling around. And then I'm not sure what happened after that because we really didn't care. We just were concerned about what he was doing.
Pam and Paula were just kids then, so was Tom Gideon.
Because that would be like us, you know, in the school group or whatever, you know, sitting there like that.
He had an inside connection too, custodian and carpenter Barney Flannery.
Barney Flannery was our neighbor. He would bring home candy that they tossed to the kids in the studio for the various programs. Then Barney would always let us kids know when we could come down to the studio and be on TV.
On TV for shows like Gordon Jump's Wib the Clown.
We were seeing the big cameras. We thought that was something to get to go down to WIBW.
Retired Topeka police officer Marion Bartlett got to know that experience well.
I was selected to be the spokesperson on the TV show.
For a half hour once a week, he'd run down the week's accidents and burglaries.
You could get them all in within a few minutes in those days.
Then interview a fellow officer. His favorite show came when the department got its first crime scene van.
Now, how in the world are you going to get that van into the building up there? No way that could happen. So we put the van out behind the building. They brought the camera over to the window, and they handed the microphones out to us through the window.
Nancy Ryan turns back the pages of time for a WIBW memory about a local bandstand-style show.
A friend of mine at the time, Larry Thompson, invited me to go, and I said, sure, I'll go along. And we danced, and we won that time. And then you waited, I think it was 4 weeks, and then you came back and danced again with the other winners. And we won that one and got to have a dinner out.
But Nancy also remembers the station's history of service, particularly those first Muscular Dystrophy Association telethons of the 1970s.
You know, kids would go out and collect money. The telethon would start and they'd get their little cans that they made, and they go from door to door and collect the money. And then you got to drive out to the hill and up and around, and the WIBW clown would be standing by a big aquarium, and the kids could dump their money in.
From those early years, they all say they're amazed what television has become.
From black and white to color.
And channels upon channels upon channels.
It is just amazing how far it's come. I still feel so young.
And we do have all the letters in a special memories section of WIBW.com. And now, just a couple minutes away.
That's right. We will make the switch to digital when we return.
What am I into? Spending time with my family, staying organized, saving time and money. That's why I'm into the Cox Bundle.
Get the Cox Bundle with digital cable, high-speed internet, and digital telephone as low as $99 a month for 2 months. Add stars for just $5 a month for 2 months. Call 866-38-GO-COX to order.
My husband's into the movie 21, new on Stars. But tonight he's coaching a soccer game. No problem. He can watch his movie afterwards with Stars on Demand. Free with our Stars subscription on Cox Digital Cable.
Cox is also the only local provider with free HD programming.
With Cox high-speed internet, I can email my son's soccer game to Grandma in just seconds.
Cox gives you blazing fast downloads faster than AT&T's DSL.
And with Cox Digital Telephone, we can stay in touch without racking up our phone bill.
You can also get packages like unlimited nationwide long distance.
The Cox Bundle gives me more out of what I'm into.
Try the Cox Bundle as low as $99 a month for 2 months. Plus add stars for just $5 a month for 2 months. Call 866-38-GO-COX to order.
I was born in Topeka on 11/15/1953. Same day WIBW started broadcasting.
This is Channel 13, WIBW-TV.
I have cable, so I won't have to worry about any kind of a converter box, but I remember when the broadcasting was done up on the hill in the old building. I even came in and seen Wizzo the Clown once when I was probably about 4 or 5. Of course, growing up and going through the 1966 tornado, I remember all the coverage from that.
If you live in the north part or on the northern edge, for God's sake, take cover.
I think hopefully WIBW will be broadcasting for the next 55 years. Hopefully I'll get to see that one.
And we hope so too. We are getting close to flipping the switch for digital.
And in these final few moments, our General Manager Jim Ogle joins us to bid farewell to analog.
And now it comes to this, our final 2 minutes on the air. We're here in a master control facility at WIBW because this is the last place where we process the signal before sending it to the transmitter into your homes. Now, one of our staff members calculated that since we went on the air at 12:45 p.m. on November 15th, 1953, we've been on the air 20,182 days, or 484,373 hours, more than 29 million minutes, or 1.7 billion seconds. While those numbers are impressive in their own right, what's even more impressive are the people who made it happen. Now, on this wall, which we use to show a little bit about our WIBW history to tours that come to the station, are pictures of many of the people who made all that time on air possible. So many people who gave so much that we say thank you to all the WIBW alum. They built the heritage of the finest news, community service, sports, and other entertainment. We work hard today to live up to their examples and results. As we end more than 5 decades of analog broadcasts, we want to thank you for watching us. We want to promise you our best, and we also want to work hard to make you proud of Kansas and WIBW. Years ago, when Walter Cronkite would sign off the CBS Evening News, he had a unique way of doing it, and I'd like to borrow it for tonight. And that's the way it is, Monday, February 16th, 2009. The last day WIBW broadcasts on old analog 13. And as Edward R. Murrow would end his broadcast, all of us here at WIBW would like to wish you good night and good luck.
The year was 1952, and some big changes were in the air and coming on the air. General Dwight Eisenhower announced his bid for the White House in Abilene. It was also the year the freeze had been lifted to apply for licenses for new TV stations. The late Kansas Senator Arthur Capper, who was head of Capper Publications, wasn't around to see this tower go up in 1952, but his company was about to go into the television business, creating a TV signal covering Topeka and Abilene and beyond. Capper Publications would call its new TV station WIBW-TV. For 48 of our 50 years on the air, this was our home, the old Security Benefit Schoolhouse. The infant Channel 13 went on the air November 15th of 1953 at 12:45 in the afternoon. We could pick any program from any of the 4 networks on the air, but right from the start always wanted to be a CBS affiliate. We wanted to share William Paley's network with Northeast Kansas, as radio stars like Jack Benny became TV stars virtually overnight. But CBS considered Channel 13 a fledgling stepchild that wasn't as important as the major stations in Kansas City. Our Saturday morning mascot Gregory the Gremlin shook his head and tried to get Topekans to turn their antennas our way.
Don't be a channel hopper. The best programs are right here. This is Channel 13, WIBW-TV, Capper Publications, Topeka, Kansas.
How could WIBW-TV get Topekans to watch the local station with an ingenious antenna that also picked up signals from the west?
And what it did, you put it up and it would pick up the Kansas City stations, but on the back side it would pick up Channel 13. So that's the way they got viewership started for the station. I mean, you can still have Kansas City, but you can also watch 13, watch local news, things like that.
The station, owned since 1957 by publisher Oscar Stauffer and his sons John and Stan, brought in a real bulldog for their battle with CBS. His name was Thad Sandstrom. When CBS wouldn't let Channel 13 carry Gunsmoke, Thad came on the air to ask viewers to write letters so he could dump them right in the sponsor's lap.
And he said, you know, the CBS won't let us have it because they don't think we're important enough here in Topeka. They don't think we sell enough Lincoln Mercury cars.
And Thad Sandstrom took the train to Chicago and went into the affiliates representation, CBS, and dumped all the letters on his desk.
Jerry Holly recalls that battle with Lincoln Mercury to be over the Ed Sullivan Show. Either way, Thad got both those shows on the air on Channel 13, and those national advertising dollars rolling in to help us build our Topeka viewership.
Everybody, here's the news picture tonight.
In 1954, we opened Kansans' eyes to the CBS Evening News with Douglas Edwards.
Good evening. This is See It Now.
And Edward R. Murrow's documentaries that ended the political career of Senator Joe McCarthy. A major national story was happening right in our own backyard, the Brown versus Topeka Board of Education ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. But a Friday afternoon in November of 1963 showed us what CBS News was made of. It began when Walter Cronkite interrupted this episode of As the World Turns.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. President Kennedy shot today just as his motorcade left downtown Dallas. We just have a report from our correspondent Dan Rather in Dallas that he has confirmed that President Kennedy is dead. From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
During the term of President Johnson, 13 News started to save the 16-millimeter film of the major news stories of Northeast Kansas. In the summer of '65, what was back then the new Kansas Avenue Bridge twisted and tumbled into the Kansas River in an unbelievable scene of destruction. Scenes that were all filmed on Bell and Howell film cameras, and there was live coverage too. We took our studio cameras right to the edge of the riverbank and showed it live with a microwave dish beaming back to the station. On a warm June Saturday night in 1978, our 13 News videotape crews were on the scene at Pomona Lake. This ferry boat, the Whippoorwill, had capsized in a tornado. 17 people died that night. It was one of the worst disasters the news team had ever covered.
People watching television at home,
or listening to their car radios, began to run for shelter. It was 7 o'clock.
As Channel 13 turned 13, it would cover what remains today one of its biggest stories ever, the June 1966 tornado, 11 months after the bridge collapse, that turned a 26-year-old Washburn Law School student into a local television legend.
17th and Webster, at least.
And we are officially in the digital broadcasting era. Remember, if you have any questions, 866-817-1313 is the number. Our panel will be here taking your calls throughout the evening. We are joined by Kent Cornish with the Kansas Association of Broadcasters and Sil Gilgenbach with the FCC. And Kent, let's first ask you real quickly. A lot of people are asking, Congress did delay the deadline for the transition until June. Why are the Topeka stations still sticking with February?
Well, like a lot of markets across the country, everybody had geared up for this date. I think a lot of stations determine in their own communities what kind of response and what kind of questions were they receiving, and it just appeared throughout Kansas that, you know, just a few minutes ago, hardly any of these phones were ringing. There are a very small number of people still waiting on coupons. So I think everybody just figured you can procrastinate now, you can procrastinate till June 12th.
So why not go ahead with it? And Ralph?
Okay, and Sue Gilgenbach is the Topeka market manager with the FCC, so seeing how all this is going locally. Sue, we're officially digital. The phones are ringing. What questions have you had, and what questions do you anticipate here with the operators tonight?
Well, the most frequently asked questions that have been is reception, and most people need to check on their antennas if they're getting poor reception now. Or the other questions is the hookup of their converter box. So just call the phone bank here and they'll give the instructions on how to get a better frequency reception as well as how to hook up your converter box.
That is great. 866-817-1313. We know that you will be calling and asking questions, but Sue, it's very exciting. So we are officially digital. Many more hundreds yet to come.
Thank you. And I hope.
And again, you know, we've been talking too, Sue, and you know this. A lot of people today were a little confused. They thought, well, gosh, if I've got cable or satellite, do I need to rescan? No, if you have cable or satellite, you should be taken care of. Now, there were some companies we had been in touch with, some of the cable companies in the area that had not made the transition yet, weren't taking our digital signal yet. So certainly, if you're on cable or satellite or having some troubles, please give a call, 866-817-1313. They'll be here all night. And thank you for being with us for our countdown to digital.
We'll see you again at 10. Good night.